This is Aunt Berta. I'm sure it's taken down at Grandma's house. That was Judy with her. That's John, and that's Wendell, me, talking to John with my back to camera. That's probably Gail. That's probably Dennis, Armour. There's Uncle Eldon, Armour. And Berta again on the right. Probably Judy. There's Wendell again, and there's I'm sure this is taken down at Grandma Armour's house down on Route 108. There's John again. John Armour, that's Eldon and Berta's oldest son. That's Geneva's back, and that must be some of our kids. That's Judy right there. That's Eldon and Berta's daughter. There's Berta again, and Aunt Ruby on the left. This is down at Grandma's house. This is looking at her front door from the inside. Let's see. Well, there's Wendell and Geneva and Gail and Dane. Dane's a little boy. He's about 1 year old there, and Gail's about 2. This is probably taken in 1955. Yeah, this is Wendell and Geneva and Gail and Dane. This was probably taken in 1955. There's Grandma with Gail and Dane. That's probably a 55 picture. Grandma with her 8mm camera. I don't know who was taking the picture at the time, but that's a good shot of the grandma and 2 kids. Well, that's a ladies' sewing circle, I guess, there in Grandma's house. Some of the church ladies and some of the sewing. There's Mary Caston's back. I see her, and Beulah Clark lived on the Standard City Road. I'm not right sure where this picture is. It's coming out of the back door of someplace. I'm not sure who that one was. Must be winter scenes. Here we are out cleaning up dead tree down at Grandma and Grandpa's house. This is pictures of a wedding that took place. Let me see if I can identify some of those people. Boy, I'm not right sure right now what wedding that was. Looks like it was, well, it might have been Rural Methodist Church. I don't know. There's Art Greaves right there on the left. Grandma had a lot of fun with her camera. She took a lot of pictures. Some weren't very recognizable, and she moved around a little bit too much for an old 8mm camera. But nevertheless, there's some treasures. I don't know that young guy. There's Arlie in that picture previous. There's a picture back down out of the north window of Grandma and Grandpa's. There we're setting some posts for a fence out on the north side of the property. Digging post holes with their 3-point mounted digger. That's Grandpa and I digging post holes. Here's some grandkids at the back door. That must be at Eldon and Berta's place. Looks like that to me. There's another picture out the north window of Grandma and Grandpa's house. I guess that's me on the tractor discing, it looks like, with a WD-45 and concrete wheel weights. Had the world by the tail. Oh boy, those were the days. That was probably taken 56 or 50, 55 or 6, something like that. This is at the back door of Grandma and Grandpa's. Let's see, that's Armour and a friend of his heading for their car. They're all dressed up to go to, I think, a concert somewhere that they were heading for. That's a 1956 Chevrolet that Arlie had bought brand new. So we know it was 1956, don't we? There's a picture of Grandpa and Wendell repairing a disc. It had the habit of breaking once in a while. There we're running a 4-row planter, planting corn probably. Swinging around at the end and drop it and away we go. There's Grandpa mowing out there south of the house with an old Alice Chalmers WD and a John Deere number 5 mower. He's about got her done. There he is, the last swipe. Another wedding. Let's see if I can figure this one out. That looks like it might be Ruby and Wendell Van Beber. This is over at Rural Church. I can see that from the steps. This is back at Grandma and Grandpa's place, I suppose, with some grandkids. There's, is that Ellis? No, that's Ruby and bathing her dog. Now, I don't know who that guy is standing there. I'm not sure. Now, if Geneva was here, she could help identify some of these kids. That must be another shot at Grandma and Grandpa's. Yep. We had some good times at Grandma and Grandpa's. A lot of family get-togethers. There's Aunt Irene. There's Helen Odell, is it?
There's Brian.
Is that Brian? Okay. Who's that ran across there? Was that Mike?
Kevin, that's Mike.
There's Mike.
That's John. That's John. That's John and Brian.
Speak up.
You think that's John?
Yeah. It's Mike and Kevin and Brian.
Mike and Kevin and Brian Varner.
Well, that's Gail and Dane and Brian. probably.
Gail and Dane and Brian. Okay.
There's Gail with the pigtails. Dane. I don't know who that is.
There's Alice Varner and Eileen and their 4 kids.
3.
Well, there was 4 there. There's
Oh, okay.
Annette was there too, wasn't she?
Yeah, that's Ruby there.
Well, that's Ruby in the red shirt.
Or the Berta.
That's Berta in the red shirt. Yeah. Yep. And there's Grandpa Armour. It looks like Ellis and Eileen and family are preparing to leave.
This happened every summer.
Yeah. Mike waving goodbye. He was the oldest of Ellis and Eileen's. That's got to be Brian with Eileen, isn't it? I guess that was before Annette was born, right?
Grandma Armour.
Yeah, Ellis acting like he's paddling the boys. And Grandma Armour bidding them farewell. Oh boy, there's a picture of us baling hay, I suppose. Looks like it's really going, but it didn't really work that fast.
Straw. It's straw.
I don't know if it's straw or hay,
Straw.
but that's the way we did it back in those days. That's the way we took care of hay and straw. Just baled it and then took it to the barn and put it on the elevator and elevated it into the barn and got up in there and stored it, packed it in orderly fashion so we could get it all in.
Kept away from light bulbs.
Yeah, there we're unloading the bales into the elevator. Up into the loft they go. I don't know who that is unloading. Looks like Grandpa. Let's see. There's a scene down at Grandma's again under the tree. There's
John Fullington. You.
yeah, John
me.
Fullington standing. There goes the fuel truck. He just brought us a load of fuel, I suppose. Is that Annadelle?
No,
That's Annadelle with some kittens, isn't it?
looks like it.
Yep. There's Adeline
John
in the
and
checkered
Ruby.
and Ruby in the green dress. John's packing the trunk. What year would that have been? About 56. Getting ready to head out. Where would they be going? Would they be
They'd
going
be
back?
going Bartow, Florida.
Whoop, can't quite get that trunk closed. We've got to rearrange.
They're going Bartow, Florida.
Lived in Bartow, Florida, yeah. Who we got here, Mom?
Well, it's Ruby and,
Mike?
yeah, looks like it.
Is that Ruby? That's
Yeah.
not Ruby. That's Annadelle, isn't it?
No, that's Ruby.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Mike or Kevin.
Well, there's Margaret, Bob and Irene Hobson. There's Aunt Liddy on the left.
Aunt Vi and...
There's Uncle Irving with the white hair, isn't it?
No, it's Aunt Vi and
Uncle Jim. Okay. Bob and Irene Hobson. John and Adeline Levin. There's Ruby and Dad Armour.
Can't you slow that down somehow? And Irene Hobson is your cousin. Aunt Vi's daughter. Explain that.
They lived out in Carolinas.
There's Annadelle and Jan and Patty
Yeah.
and Nancy and Ruby.
And David. Those are Garden's 4 kids
Yeah.
around Annadelle. And Ruby on the left with her dog.
David was born in 1954.
This is on the back steps of Grandma and Grandpa's. Yep. Those are Garden's 4 kids with Annadelle. Though that is Palmer Udstrom and his wife. That's Garden's mother and father-in-law. They're from Minneapolis. They're just leaving. That's at Grandma and Grandpa's house. That's who that was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, there's John that just appeared. There's Grandma and
Dennis.
Grandpa.
Dane on Grandma's lap. David. Gail. And
Dennis down in front. Jan behind her. There's Judy in the green.
there's
That's
Patty.
Annadelle the taller. There's Grandma and Grandpa. Adeline. Arlen. Ruby. Gordon behind Ruby.
Hilda.
Eldon on the left and Wendell behind. Who's missing there? Eileen? There's some grandkids.
There's Patty. There's Gail. And there's Dennis.
Dennis.
There's Annadelle.
Annadelle in the white blouse.
And that's Jan. There's Dane, Nancy. There's Jan and Gail. Dennis. You talk. That's Jan.
We think this is in Florida at a ceremony, a band deal that Eileen's boys were in, maybe Mike and Kevin. I'm not sure about the year. It would have probably been 56, along in there, 57. Grandma and Grandpa made some trips to Florida when Adeline and John and Alice and Eileen lived down there. And Ruby was there at some of the points, and Arlen and Elvira moved there too. So they made frequent trips to Florida. Took in some of the activities of the grandkids.
Mom and Dad, aren't they? That might have been college. Ruby was going to college at that time.
Yeah, but this is down in Florida, isn't it? I think so.
Looks like there's a queen's ceremony of some sort. There's Ruby and her dog.
Ruby and her dog.
Cinnamon.
Yeah, Cinnamon. That's right.
And who's that little kid on
I don't know, where was that? Got to be in the fall of the year. Look at those colors. That had to be Ruby's car. Now, where was this?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe she lived in Bloomington.
We think this was up at Bloomington. Ruby went to school in Bloomington.
Where she taught?
This was after her first husband disappeared in the Pacific. There's Grandpa standing down front. Grandpa and Ruby. Here's a winter scene down at Totten Lydia's. Ice storm, you betcha.
Mulberry tree.
Yeah, mulberry trees out
There's 3 of them.
southwest of the house along the road.
About the mulberries.
Yeah. Pretty good ice storm, huh?
Oh, there's a new baby.
What do we got here?
I don't know. Too much we talk.
Can't tell who that is.
We don't know whose baby. It's a christening at Christmas.
That's Christmas tree. We're talking now from Pat and Gina's house in Dallas.
There's
It's,
Judy.
That's
And
Aunt
who
Berta.
is that?
That's Aunt Berta
Aunt
with the
Berta and
stole.
Judy
There's
and-
Dennis.
Judy and Dennis.
Yep.
We're having Christmas with Grandma
This is,
Armour, probably. There's
There's
Gail.
me.
What, September 29th of '06 is when we're talking here. So that's been a long time ago. That's been
There's
Dane.
Dane.
50 years ago that these pictures were
There's
taken.
Gail.
Grandpa on the left.
Gosh, she's dark. There's Judy Armour, Judy Hill.
Yep.
Judy Armour Hill again.
Pat Norris took these pictures off of 8mm film and put them on CDs. Who would this be?
Judy got
That's
a tea
Judy.
Judy?
And there's Gail.
Okay.
That cute. I made you that dress, Gail.
There's Ruby. Garden, isn't it?
I can't tell.
Is that Jan? Jan and Gordon?
Well, it must be. Now, where are we?
Can these pictures be made lighter? They're so dark we can't always see them. They're darker on the computer than they are on television. I think. That's
There's,
a minister from the church, they said.
yeah, this is down at Grandma Armour's house, another sewing circle deal.
It's at the church.
Quilting.
At the church,
It's a quilting bee
Yeah,
at
it's
the
a real
church.
Methodist.
there's Viva
There's
Conacher.
Luella Conacher, Grace Conacher. See, you can't see the women there.
That's a quilting.
That was the same scenes. That was a minister came back there. That's Luella Conacher and Grace, isn't it?
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Those were sister-in-laws. Who's that lady?
Mrs. Greaves.
Mrs. Greaves.
And Viva
Viva
Conacher.
Conacher. Yeah, that's some of the same shots.
There's Arlie.
There's Arlie Armour. There's Dad's hand. I can recognize that hand anywhere. Handing Arlie a muffin. Wonder what the occasion is here. This is while Arlie was still single. So it had to be in
Grandma's African
54 or
violet.
5.
Look at Grandma's violets.
Yep. There we're chopping silage with a... There we're raking the silage off of the wagon into the blower. Blew it up into silo. There's Monroe Mere out there on the tractor pulling the silage off the wagon with a lattice work in the bottom of the box. And this is at the Armour farm, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
our silo that blew down.
Yep. Well, we're on a trip. Now, where are we going?
Probably Idaho. It's probably Mom and Dad and Ruby. It's probably a long trip they took.
Yeah, I think Mom and Dad and Ruby went to Idaho to check up on some property that Ruby had inherited through her husband's death.
There's your grandma going in.
Look at that air conditioning.
Yeah, air-conditioned cafe back in the 50s. That's
Let's
unusual,
go.
isn't it?
That's
There's
your mom and
Grandma.
Dad. Tell them.
Yep, Grandma and Grandpa Armour. And Ruby.
There's Ruby. Wasn't she beautiful?
They took this trip in Ruby's car. That's an Oldsmobile. This trip was clear out into Utah. I guess
Idaho.
Idaho? Yeah, Idaho. Some of this scenery was a little bit different than around our area, so Grandma couldn't resist taking pictures of long spaces and unusual sights. Didn't have the interstates and the 4-lane highways back then. We traveled on 2-lane roads. Can't imagine what that was.
Bridge.
Yeah, we're across the big bridge now. Miles and miles of miles and miles. Piles of baled hay along the road. Out in the west, they can bale hay and pile it up, and there's not enough rainfall to damage it very much. So it can be sold right out of those piles and in pretty good quality. A little bit different kind of territory. Worth taking a picture of. Where would that be? Maybe through the Badlands?
I don't know.
Doesn't look like Illinois, so we better get a picture of it. See if we can
That's your mom's.
see if we can get that sign. See what that says. I bet it says the Badlands. Okay, where are we? I don't know. Now there's a relic. That's an old steam engine. Horseless Carriage Museum. Okay, entering Black Hills National
So
Forest.
South Dakota.
Yeah, that's in South Dakota.
That was a Badlands.
So that was through the Badlands then. There's Mount Rushmore.
$50 and old and haven't aged a bit.
There's Grandma and Grandpa. What's the sign say? Ruby's got to be on the camera now. Leaving something,
Reserve.
something preserve. Heading west. Gotta wait for burros on the road. There's another one. There's another one. Oh. That's gotta be a, what, an elk? What is that? What do we got here? What's that, a wild turkey? And there it looks like a coyote. Coyote or a wolf. Must be penned, it's back and forth. Must be at a wildlife park. Some kind of sheep. Looked like they were pulling into a motel area. Where are those animals?
I have no idea. Now they're in Wyoming.
Yeah, got to Wyoming.
Did Grandpa and Grandma take very many trips?
Yeah, they took several trips.
So they like to travel, or did they?
Yeah, they enjoyed traveling in their later life. They were back and forth to Florida several times. They were out west a couple of times. More big piles of baled hay.
After Grandpa died, Grandma used to just take off and travel and fly. And
Yeah, she used to fly down to Florida, or
Disneyland.
then she did a bus trip with some, a tour, and those pictures are, it's pretty hard for us to imagine what they were. What do we see here?
Probably going into Yellowstone.
Yeah, that's probably right. Lots of scenery. There's Grandpa and Ruby and
Grand Tetons are across there.
Grand Tetons, okay, that's in Yellowstone, isn't it?
No, before you get there.
There you go. Pretty amazing to a couple of old folks that have been on the prairie for all their lives. Let's see if this was 56 or 57. Grandpa would have been about 70 years old. He was born in 88. Grandma was born in 91.
How about 18?
Yeah, 1888 and 1891 they were born. They hadn't traveled much up until the time Gordon got married. That was probably back in 46, 47. Went to Minneapolis. I think that's the first time they'd got away from home.
Don't see any interstates on that trip, do you?
No interstates.
Would you like to be traveling some of them roads?
Grandma and back. Grandma and Grandpa heading back to that car. What a sight. Doesn't look like the flatlands of Illinois, does it? Ruby and Grandpa. Tot. Grandpa Tot. What's that say? Leaving Wyoming?
Old Faithful,
Okay,
yeah,
we're in
that was
Yellowstone. Yep.
There's a bear.
Gotta wait for a bear to get across the road here. Craig Pass, Continental Divide.
There you are out the car, take a picture with bears.
Well, that's
that
a-
makes sense.
That's a Cadillac up ahead, waiting for the bears too. Can't run over the bears.
Of course, you tell people to stay in the car when they do get out.
Yeah, people get out, try to get close to the bears.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Kepler Cascades, are they on past Yellowstone?
Never heard of them.
The bear's in no hurry to get out of the way. He says, I own this place.
Geysers.
It's got to be in Yellowstone National Park yet.
Grandpa.
Amazing place. That's kind of like Niagara Falls. Just unbelievable till you see it. I think we're sitting here waiting for the old faithful. There she goes. She's all done. Time to take off.
Look how dressed up all the women were.
Oh yeah. An elk.
I have no idea. There's something.
Shoshone National Forest. This must be the entrance to the forest. We're still on that Idaho trip.
It's beautiful. Hey, don't you bite me.
What a rack on that animal. Must be a young laying down.
That looks like the place where they filmed The Shining.
The bear's still on the woods out there. West Thumb. It must still be in Yellowstone. Yeah. Bear right up around the lodge. Can't imagine where this would be, but Lydia loved flowers, so she had to take a picture of these. That's got to be gates of a dam letting water through. Looks like we're back in hay country. Big bales of hay and trucks out there picking them up. Now, what are we drilling for here? More piles of hay. Wow, they even put a roof on them like a shed.
their long vacations, wasn't it?
It's quite a trip for them. Quite a long trip.
How long were they gone?
Conoco Gas. Pretty prominent name back in the 50s.
How long were they gone on this trip?
I don't know. What was that sign? I didn't catch that.
Couldn't either.
Craters and
Years of the moon.
craters of the moon.
National Monument. Beautiful rainbow.
Wow, here we are with more back home pictures. No, these are not back home. These are some people that they saw when they were on this trip out west. And I do not know who these people are. I just don't. I guess they were Air Force buddies of Wimp and Ruby's when they were in the Air Force out in Boise, Idaho. That's who they are. They're friends that they had made while they were out there in the Air Force. That would have been back in the back in 51 or 52 when they were out there. Let's see, 53, could have been 53. Yeah. Yeah, they were in Boise, Idaho in 53. At an Air Force base. There's Grandma, Grandpa. Grandpa says, I'm riding and you can drive. Welcome to Utah. Dick Harper's Fresh Fruit and Vegetables. Must have been unusual to find a fresh fruit and vegetable stand along the road. What a big one it is, too.